Hey, youth leaders. My name's Sean. I'm with Dare to Share. I'm the marketing guy, and I'm here today with Andy and Nick, who are Andy's a youth leader, or Andy's the new lead guy and has been for a couple years now in Kenosha. Nick is a youth leader on staff at his church, and they're in Wisconsin. They work with a bunch of groups there, a bunch of churches there, as a network of churches. Last year, they helped coordinate live, or Nick really did, for his church hosting live, while Andy was speaking at another church in the part of the country. So want to kind of talk about what happened last year, guys. Like, as a network with the Kenosha Allies, that's what they're called. How did you, Nick, how did you kind of like start casting that vision for the other youth leaders in the network and help build up momentum so that you guys were already a strong network, but how do you start to adopt this as a central piece to what you guys want to do together?
Yeah, we've been working with these guys for years now. Probably the strongest tie is with me and David. So he's a youth pastor really just 10 blocks down the street. Really, really close. We've served together for Youth for Christ. We've went to school together. So we're really, really good friends. And so we look for opportunities to do ministry as much as possible. We're putting in we're putting a handbook together and stuff like that. So everything we can, we're working together. So with that, we're both CTs. And so we really wanted to host this thing together. Both of us bring really different gifts to the table. He's competent in technical stuff where I have no idea. He's a musician, and I should never try singing on a stage ever again. Yeah. There are the dark ages. But, so we really complement each other very well. And so anytime we're talking about Dare to Share, we come at it together as a partnership. But with everyone else in the network, we've really been gaining relationships. What really happens is we start to see what people are passionate about and what they care about, and they know, they've kind of dubbed us as being the evangelist people. We're passionate about the gospel.
We're okay with that.
That's a good thing to be known for, right? Yeah, we love to share Jesus, and everybody knows it. So
compliment.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
So it takes years of building that trust, and you kind of get your sort of pigeonholed as this thing. But the thing is, when you've built that trust, people see you as, I can be more evangelistic. I could be more like that. And then we look at others, and I could be more about the things of the Spirit, really iron sharpening iron. And so when these conversations come up, they know we're going to be the most passionate about training our students to share the gospel, and they know they're going to get it from us. And so there wasn't necessarily like this week will be the formalized introduction to the event. Yeah, it was more conversations, and really anytime something comes up. So lead the cause. We're talking to people, and it really is. Some people are more interested. I mean, probably the guy who was most interested was someone who's youth pastor, but really he's volunteering his time. So he works full time. He just got married. So a lot just kind of going on, but he's new to youth ministry and leaning into everything. So we started coaching him in, gospel advancing youth ministry stuff.
Nice.
And he was one of the first people to be excited about Lead the Cause.
Great.
He actually got married right before the event, so he's excited to be a part of Dare Share Live this next year.
Okay, gotcha.
So some of that is, just depending on interest of others. We're also sort of connected with another network in Racine, so just the town above us. So they've got a group of guys getting together maybe every couple months.
Okay.
So we visited a couple times, so there's some of that relationship there to just be a plug and say, hey, if you're interested.
Yeah,
I think the key thing that Nick said is that it is a conversation. It's a long-standing kind of aim of not that we're just, he's going to say the Dare to Share thing again. Dare to Share is just a natural outflow of what we're about all the time. And so as far as like the Kenosha Allies, there's two sides of it now. I started as Kenosha Allies when we were just youth pastors. And I say just youth pastors as that's the main thing, right? I'm a lead well, it's funny when I'm a lead pastor now, and people come up to me and they kind of give me that. I'm like, "Yep, I'm a youth pastor with lead pastor clothes on now."
Obviously, right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Sporting a live shirt, which we didn't coordinate, by the way.
You have the youth pastors and you have the lead pastors side of Allies now, and so one of the I really, really believe in, and part of the reason why I even made the switch over to lead pastor is I believe that we need to start influencing and sharing and casting the vision for those guys in the first chair, even with things like Dare to Share Live, because they're sometimes the gatekeepers to venues.
Yeah,
so
true.
just sharing, and we've actually had some more lead pastors from the Kenosha area jump into the CT program. And so again, it's those long-standing conversations that start right now, because obviously we think of Dare to Share Live being in October, but it's now. I mean, these conversations are going to be a slow drip. It's going to be that natural. Yeah, I'm going to go. It's not because I think you're trying to push an event on me. I understand the vision and the why, because of the life and because of the conversations, intentional conversations that we've been having advancing the gospel in the city.
Yeah. So that's good to say, because it's been a little bit since I've been in like massive networks for churches. So it's a good point. Like, you've established deep relationships with these guys. You know what strengths each one brings to the table. One's more passionate about prayer. One's more passionate about evangelism. All good things, right, for the body. But you have a rapport and a reputation now for the evangelistic side, but you've been fostering a deep relationship with someone who has a prayer bent or a real discipleship affinity. And then in that, you're able to kind of go, well, you can take this piece. And Nick, I loved how you said, that other youth leader is much more gifted in the another gift set than you are, and you might as well like work together and use those well. And it's through the long-term relationships that you've kind of developed that or found that out. So that's a good point. Like, if you have a long-term network, press into what you know about each other with your gift sets, and then try to coordinate that way, because you're going to be more successful. Plus, you're going to enjoy it more. You're not going to be like forcing something to happen that you don't want to do. Nick saying, I don't want to be up on, worshiping or helping coordinate the worship thing. Like, that's not you. So that's okay. That's cool. So you just kind of brought it up in conversations, and you have a normal networking, like a gathering, right? Where you guys are just getting together for breakfast or lunch or like coffee or something. Is that once a month, or how does that work?
Yeah, we'll meet once every week.
Once a week, yeah.
So
okay. Awesome.
About an hour and a half, we'll meet for prayer. It's kind of morphed into, we'll go around the circle, share how ministry's going, your personal things. So, I mean, doing that every single week, you start to really build a connection, and it's just nice. You get advice about different things, and
totally,
from people who are in a whole different sort of world than you, in their organization. So,
and the events, and there are some event planning. Like, we just came off an event a month ago, and that's really the afterthought. A lot of times we get together because of events and networks around the country, and the events become the afterthought to just the substance of, hey, we're guys in the trenches.
Right.
Get together, let's encourage each other, and let's see this city one together.
Right. I mean, you found the value. If you're starting a network, you don't necessarily know the value of the week to week and the relationships and the accountability that can be built in, which is incredible. But you don't know that value. So you use live as an excuse to kind of like get together and do this thing, lock arms, and then discover that as you're going.
Absolutely. I mean, events. I would say if you don't have a network that is really together, events are a natural meeting point. I mean, that's how Ally started, and we moved to more of the relational. Now it's an afterthought. That should be the flow of a network. But I'd say specifically for Dare to Share Live, absolutely, it is a catalyst of bringing guys together, bringing men and women together from your region that normally you wouldn't have done anything. And so it can be a catalytic event where not only is it mobilizing students to share their faith in their area, but it's mobilizing youth leaders to encourage each other. The more youth leaders we have mobilized to become gospel advancing, I believe we're going to have that many more students, because they're getting it from their leadership.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we know it starts with leadership, right? If we're not adopting it ourselves, then it's never going to trickle down. So
we are the lid, or we are that catalytic explosion for the gospel.
Right. That spark. Yeah. It incubates around you when you're that like just potent growth, thing growing in a petri dish.
And that seems so elementary, but the thing is that as we've seen, and as Dare to Share Live, I believe, is just as much for the students. I think leaders. That's my prayer, is that leaders catch that vision too. It's so easily just forgotten in the rat race of youth ministry.
Yeah. So let's say you've already planted the seed. You have 4 or 5 people that are like, we're doing this thing together. You have this established network. How does prayer from that point play in for the planning and working together piece?
Yeah, like I said, we pray every week. So as events are coming up, sometimes we'll do worship events together. So
Yeah.
obviously the weeks leading up, that's the main part of our prayer. But
Yeah.
we're praying for each other. We're prayers. We leave a lot of room for prayer. So
Yeah.
that's been a real priority with our network. So we leave room for praying for each other and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
So,
and for the guys that are bought in, that are like, yeah, I'm going, like you can begin to pray specifically for the event, whether it be students, the hearts of leaders,
sure.
just the mobilization efforts of getting the whole event,
Right. Yeah. So is there without name dropping or anything, is there been a hard time with one or two, like really getting the cat to understand that? And then what does you do to help bust that,
Yeah. Well, Greg talks about there's a burning ember, youth leaders, and you got to fan it. There's something there, this passion, this holy discontent that the gospel needs to be going out, that there are far too few followers of Jesus in our schools, that this generation needs to know the hope of God. So to be able to fan that, it's there are people really passionate about other things. There's one guy in particular, without naming any names, like you said, that it's kind of working through interpersonal stuff right now, and leading in. We've done some events together, but then there's been just stuff on the side that we're sorting through. So he's come from the network just recently, and we're really, we spent a lot of time navigating on a relational basis, how to rebuild trust and things like that. So, it's just some people, it locks in right away, and you don't need to say much. There's a guy in Racine that he's all about the gospel.
Yeah,
you need to put a little word out. This is happening, and he came, brought it, and he brought like 4 of his kids. They loved him, and I'm sure he's going to be excited for the next year. He's going to bring a little more. There's been that even a trust for an event. He was able to check it out.
Yeah.
And other guys, their heart and their passion is on other things, and so it's going to be a slow drip. And we're willing to take the time to keep pushing, saying we need to advance that gospel.
Yeah. And thanks for saying that, because isn't that what God does with us? Like he meets us in that spot where he's like, come on, and working on it. He's patient. And it's like, we should be patient with our fellow people that we're locking arms with.
I think that's so key in the context of Dare to Share Live, that, like for instance, Nick's talking about just a couple of relationships where, and this has happened. There's been handfuls of relationships. I'm sure we've been those guys too, to other people where like, I don't really understand where you're coming from, or whether you could even be hurt or someone stepping down or whatever. The cool thing about a network is that as you push yourself to realize one dream, one team, even if they're showing up to the network or not, even if they're not part of Dare to Share Live, we want everybody to be part of Dare to Share Live. But when people realize that we are for the gospel, we're for them to succeed in the gospel, it makes Dare to Share Live 2021 probably a reality for that individual, but maybe not Dare to Share Live 2018. And so we begin to think of, because of relationships are slow, because it is a slow drip, that you begin to think of not just 1 year, but you think, okay, 2, 3, 4 years down the road. And that's huge. It's huge, because if it's only on our radar at an event such as Dare to Share Live, 3 months beforehand in our relationships, we'll have very limited leverage ever.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I love about Dare to Share is it's beyond just the event. It's beyond just, gather as many people together as possible to be in this one room at this one time, like so many other youth ministries are. It's about the movement. And so there is something that happens to me every time I'm part of a Dare to Share event.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that ripples and that spread. Influence I have with other youth pastors who aren't even a part of the network, it's still kind of coming out, and we can start spurring each other on. So
Well, thanks. Is there anything else that you guys want to share with a potential network leader or someone who's been doing a network for a while, or just new to the trenches in youth ministry in regard to ministry in general, or even Dare to Share Live?
That's a big question.
That is a big question.
This way, like I've given some network talks at Lead the Cause and different youth leader sessions for a number of years now in the Dare to Share context and outside the context. I would say this is that begin to leverage those who are in your sphere of influence right now. It only might be 2 or 3. It may be tempting to look at a network. Oh man, they have 30 or they have 12 churches or they meet every week or they're not event oriented. And then you get paralyzed. You're like, I can never be that. And you stop. That's not the point. The point is start where you're at, leverage who you have, and begin to just start asking God for more. Ask God, show me who could be more open, or put in my path a pastor that may be open, or God, give me the wisdom, or train me up in ways that I can teach people to see that the gospel is important. Like there's one network, it didn't exist 2 years ago. We were on a van ride, I think back from Denver, as a matter of fact, and we had a pastor with us, and he didn't have a network, and we were talking Kenosha Allies with them. And here's the thing, by the way, Kenosha Allies, we have our ups and we have our downs. There's days we're like, oh, our network stinks, but and that's how it is with every network. So I don't want us to say, hey, we're the experts. We stumbled upon what God was doing, and we're trying to be good stewards of it. But this guy that was in the van ride with us, he didn't have a network, and he just got inspired. And within like months, he had a network to where he has about I think 15 to 20 different churches. But they only meet once a month. I don't know if they'll ever meet once a week, but they meet once a month. It's been a slow drip. The gospel beginning to get advanced. They're beginning to see that camaraderie and this trust in the region, and it's beautiful. But it's taken years. It's not at the same quantity of meeting level. So again, I think it's not one size fits all, but it needs to be based on advancing the gospel and loving each other in the city to do it.
Nice. Anything from you, Nick? Want to add?
Yeah. Who said that? Your heart is a factory for idols. I think youth ministry.
Abraham Lincoln. Yeah.
George Washington.
One of those guys.
One of those theologians. Yeah. I think youth ministry is a factory for insecurity. There are pressures from all over. And so you said, someone who's new to youth ministry, if you're going to start a network, that means there are all kinds of insecurities you're going to open yourself up to, because there are all kinds of other youth leaders doing really cool, awesome things. And, the more and more with social media, as we try to reach students, we're going to broadcast all the cool, fun things we're doing. And it's something that's going to really grow you if you're willing to be a part of this and know your security in God, know your calling, and to be able to say, I'm here because I want to be a blessing to other youth ministries. If you're able to do that, navigate that, not play the comparison game, not, always think about, oh man, they're doing this, I have to start doing this.
Right.
No, what's most important, youth ministry can get so eclipsed by all of the different activity. And if you can focus on, we are about advancing the gospel. We're about teenagers, reaching teenagers.
Yeah,
and
that's good.
a lot of other things you can give or take any of that, but at the end of the day, this is what we're about, and we're going to lock arms with each other. We're not going to try to one up each other.
Yeah. So personally, it's starting with you, right? Like knowing your identities in Jesus, and like having confidence in that, not be intimidated by the other flashy things that you might run into, for one, but then knowing that it's the bigger objective is gospel. Not even this event, not even the event next week, like not even the network meeting. It's the gospel, and keeping that forefront. Keep the main thing. And for you personally, your main thing is Jesus, and it should be for your ministry as well. So, right.
Just to add to that, comparison's cancer. Like we're not comparing our one ministry to the other ministry. There's always going to be a bigger ministry than yours, somewhere, and there's always going to be things that people are doing that we should rejoice in. But that we could easily discourage us because, we don't have that. We don't have those stage lights, or we don't have that band, or we don't have, I just want more than 10 people in my youth group. And so instead of looking at, again, our sphere of influence, like how could God use us to influence this area now? Right?
Yeah.
Look at it that way. It doesn't matter how many other churches exist. In fact, it becomes essential that they do exist and that we check them on.
Right.
And I think another thing too, when it comes to guys, if you're brand new into ministry, is that pray to God every day that you will have patience and that you have grace and charity, because you want people to have that for you. Because there's going to be times that guys say things that just absolutely tick you off. Like, oh my gosh, can you believe that? He said, oh, here he goes. He's bragging again. All right. Okay. I understand. Okay. I saw 3 people, place their faith in Christ. You saw 12. Okay. Thanks for upping me.
Mhm.
But the whole thing is like, you know what? His heart's good. He loves Jesus and he's for the gospel. You know what? I'm going to have a lot of charity and grace for him. Or even like if you're more Baptist and you have another guy in your group that's more Pentecostal and the Baptist, can't get out of the chair, but the Pentecostal wants to hang on the chandelier. I'm giving stereotypes.
Totally.
But just the differences can breed that, like, what are they doing? And I think the best thing to tell yourself is, you know what? I know what God's called me to do, and he's know what God's calling him to do. And that's
right.
Okay.
Right.
That's okay.
Right.
That attitude is essential. Without it, you won't get together with too many.
And the reality is God uses that uniqueness to reach different people. And
absolutely.
We're all wired differently. So we got to embrace that. And we got to affirm each other in that. And we got to remember our main thing is the main thing, and that's Jesus, and theirs is too. So let's not quibble about the things that aren't the core. Like, let's be okay with just reaching people for Jesus and shedding those other things, So, well, good stuff, guys. Really appreciate your time. I hope this was helpful for a youth leader out there who's listening and thinking about live. And I'm sure these guys will be willing to take any questions if you have them. So feel free to reach out to them, or feel free to reach out to us at Dare to Share, and we'll connect you. But anyway, we're hoping that live is a blessing to you and your network, and we thank you guys for doing this.
Yeah, if you guys want to reach us, it's Andy or Nick at Kenosha.church. And in addition of Dare to Share, we'd love to just answer any of your questions.
Nice. Well, thanks, Andy. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate you guys very much.